Joining me now is former Major League pitcher Al Downing. Downing entered the majors with the New York Yankees in 1961 and became the team's first African-American starting pitcher. Downing led the American League with 217 strikeouts in 1964 and is among the elite group of black pitchers who have won 20 games in a single season. Al Downing, welcome to LA Theater Works.
Thank you very much, Susan.
Before we begin talking, I think we need to tell everybody that Al and I are actually from the same hometown, Trenton, New Jersey, and he and I are friends to this day. So could you sense anything about history being made when Jackie Robinson debuted with the Brooklyn Dodgers in 1947?
Oh, most definitely. I mean, the big news in those days was Joe Louis and Jackie Robinson. The name Jack Robinson came up, and of course, everyone wanted to know who's Jack Robinson. And there was an old saying, as fast as Jack Robinson. And so, well, who is this Jack Robinson? Well, then it was brought up that he was now playing for the Brooklyn Dodgers. But no one made it as though it was some earth-shattering event that he was the first black player to play for the Brooklyn Dodgers. No.
That's interesting.
Well, baseball was not something that was revered in the black neighborhoods. There was a Negro League that were going very strong at that time. And to them, they felt it was an imposition on their whole industry that Major League Baseball was starting to cherry pick their best players.
Well, of course, in the play, we hear that from Paul Robeson. That's his rejoinder to Branch Rickey, and he is very concerned about that.
With your stable of Negroes, the Dodgers will dominate baseball.
That's what I'm paid to do.
But who will pay to see the Homestead Grays, or the Kansas City Monarchs, or the Black Yankees?
Do you remember hearing much about Paul Robeson as a youngster growing up?
Paul Robeson, of course, Paul was a Rhodes Scholar. And then we all had to find out what a Rhodes Scholar meant. Paul was a renowned opera singer, and he was a very revered person in the black community. And what he said spoke volumes. The politicians really hadn't come to the fore at that time. So usually your news and your adulation came through your entertainers, your musicians, and usually the players in the Negro Leagues.
How did the black community react over the years as the Negro League began to suffer and eventually disappear?
There's a tremendous amount of distrust of Major League Baseball. I remember as a kid in Trenton, New Jersey, and I played a lot of baseball, and people would always say, "Why are you playing baseball? You can't go anywhere in baseball." And even when I signed to play with the Yankees, a lot of people were wondering, well, why would you want to play that game? We can't go any place in that game. And
wait a minute. By that time, Jackie Robinson was already a national hero. Why would people be saying that at that point? Because
remember, it was only 13 years removed from Jackie Robinson coming into baseball. And people had long histories and long memories. And their feeling was the Jackie Robinson event originally was an experiment. And in their minds, they felt that they can pull the carpet out from under us anytime they would like. And if you go back and you look, the players that were filtering into Major League Baseball primarily were coming from the Negro Leagues, and they were the premier players, although there were a lot of good players left. Thus, the Negro Leagues were beginning to die and fade away, and a lot of people resented that.
In 1963, you became a full-time starting pitcher, the first African-American starter in the team's history. Did you feel an added layer of pressure at that time?
Actually, not really, because I was just so happy to be pitching in the rotation. When I walked out on the mound, there was only two people I concerned myself with, my catcher and the batter. And my catcher, fortunately, happened to be a fellow named Elston Howard, who was the first black player to play for the Yankees. So we were both in this fishbowl. And when we had good games, you didn't hear anything about it. When we had bad games, the manager, Ralph Halk, would get these letters, says, "What do you expect? Look who you have pitching and catching."
The Yankees were a powerhouse team that year with some of the biggest stars in the game, like Mickey Mantle, Yogi Berra, and Roger Maris. This was an elite and mostly white fraternity. Was it a challenge to navigate it?
No. The Yankees were successful because they won ball games, they won championships. In order to do that, you had to have some kind of camaraderie, some kind of focus. And the fact that Elston Howard and I and Hector Lopez were on that ball club meant that we could add to the success of that ball club. They understood that.
Well, in the 1960s, as you were achieving a lot of success in the pros, Jackie Robinson at that point was becoming very, very involved and a powerful voice in the civil rights movement. Did that give you any insights about him during those years?
Well, it gave us a lot of insight. I was always a big fan of Jackie's once I became aware of who he was as a ball player, but more importantly, when I would listen to Jackie Robinson speak, and I've often told people the one thing I always remembered and respected about Jackie Robinson, I never saw him on a television in some interview without him being dressed up with a suit and tie on. And when I look at him and would listen to him speak, I said, this man has a lot to say other than being a ball player. And then a lot of the young athletes in Trenton started to take that, especially the black athletes, started to take that and use that as a focal point for themselves and say, hey, I want to be like Jackie Robinson. Well, I was no different.
Al, this has been a terrific conversation, and I learned a lot of things that I had never known about you, even though I know you quite well.
Susan, thank you. It's been my pleasure, and you've done yourself proud. You've done a wonderful job here with Theater Works, and I'm very proud of you.
I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
Former Major League pitcher Al Downing.